Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Donovan Live postgame show on WKYC's Facebook Live, the Monday Browns tie recap edition with Jim Donovan, the voice of the Browns. I'm Dave DeNatale. I think you've seen it all when I say, geez, starting year 20 in the booth with Deke, and you guys have seen it all, you've done it all, but you hadn't done a tie yet.
No, we hadn't done a tie. No. It was mind-boggling. I have to tell you, it was an incredible afternoon of shifts in momentum.
Yeah.
I mean, both teams had shifts in momentum that went on. I really believe both teams are totally disappointed in the outcome of the game, and
kicking themselves.
Yeah, that there was no outcome. And if you're the Steelers, you're up 21-7 with about 7.5 to go in the game. The Browns have gone 4 and out.
Yep.
They didn't convert on a 4th down play. Looks like you're going to put the thing to bed, and suddenly you start turning the ball over. And the next thing you're in overtime, you miss a field goal, and the next thing you're hanging on. If you're the Browns, you say, wow, we had 6 turnovers in the game, and it was close.
Yeah.
We're in overtime.
Right.
But they did nothing with those turnovers except for one of them, really.
Yeah.
It was a very, really weird feeling down there.
Yeah.
And I think it was shared by both teams and by all of the fans.
Yeah, I mean, because so much had been put into this game, coming out with a tie, it's not a moral victory. Now, you could take positives from certain things you saw, but I mean, and I think Hue Jackson, his reaction after watching the film today, I think kind of said it all. I mean, it's disappointing because it was there to be won, and when you haven't won a game in a long time, 600 some odd days, you got to seize the opportunity when it's handed to you.
Yeah, you do, and they did not do that in the game. I mean, they had just an incredible defensive performance, which you could kind of forecast because that defense has been legitimate all throughout the preseason, every step of the way, whether it was against the Giants or the Buffalo Bills or definitely against the Eagles and certainly against the Lions. I mean, everybody had a tough time against that Browns defense. And so you say, well, things might be different when Big Ben gets a hold of them, but it was the other way around. They got a hold of Big Ben. Unlike there was only one other time, Dino, that I remember them defending against Roethlisberger that way, and it was a frigid, cold Thursday night game. And I think
the Cribs game.
Yeah, he was amazing. And it was a Thursday night game.
Yep.
It was Eric Mangini, and I think it saved Eric's job.
I do too.
That year because the Browns went on like a 4-game winning streak at the end of the year, ended with 5 wins, and they ended up winning that game. And I think they sacked him like 8 times in the game, and really had an amazing performance. Other than that, he has done whatever he's wanted to do, and whenever he's wanted to do it, beginning of first play of the game, last play of the game, he's been able to do it. So to be able to handle him that way was incredible. Individually, Myles Garrett, that's the Myles Garrett they drafted.
Superb.
Don't like the 3 penalties.
Yep.
But, as far as him playing that defensive end position, wow, he is going to be something.
Yeah.
Denzel Ward was amazing.
Yeah.
That's as good a game as I've seen a Browns corner, never mind a first game for a Browns corner that I've seen. I said this on one of the shows tonight that even Joe Hayden, when Joe Hayden was really playing well, I don't remember Joe Hayden really playing up to that kind of standard.
That was a Frank Minifield type game.
Yeah.
To me. That's where you got to go to.
Hanford will be disappointed.
And Hanford will be disappointed. But, by the way, we've got Facebook Live going. Your questions, your comments, but also at 3 Donovan Live on Twitter. You have questions, you have thoughts, you want to ask Jimmy something, we'll get to your questions throughout the game, throughout the show, I mean. You said Thursday, it was one of the last things we talked about, that, we were going to finally really get a look at Tyrod Taylor. And because we really hadn't seen enough of him. There was not enough of a sample size in the preseason because of the limited reps for the ones, because they ran the ball a lot in game 2, because he got hurt in game 3. We just really didn't see a lot of him. Well, we saw a lot of him yesterday, and there were a lot of disappointing things. I know he ran, he got the touchdown, and I know he ran hard and everything, but there were throws that needed to be made that he didn't execute.
And sometimes he didn't make the throw.
Right.
Okay, and not only, you're right, the execution of those throws was very underwhelming. His numbers were pathetic.
Yeah.
15 for 40 in the game is not good. He was their leading rusher. And I really believe, Dino, that there were points in the game, especially early in the game, where he really liked being a runner more than a quarterback.
Yeah.
I thought he was very uncomfortable in the pocket all day long. I thought he was short on a lot of his throws. I thought receivers were open, but they had to wait for the ball, and suddenly it becomes a 50-50 ball, which finally got him in the end when he was intercepted there by Cameron Sutton. So it was disappointing. There's a lot to chew on there. The offensive line wasn't great. That's disappointing. It really is. The wide receivers, I mean, Josh Gordon's game was mysterious.
Yeah.
69 plays, 3 targets in the game. Very mysterious.
His first target, was his first target the touchdown? Had he been targeted? I was trying to go back and look.
No, his first target was actually, I really believe Joe Hayden should have been flagged.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's right. That's right.
Pass interference. Yeah. But he wasn't. That was his first one, and then, after that he got the touchdown.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was very, very disappointing. Now, even in the 15 receptions, there were some circus catches.
Yeah.
2 by Landry and the one by Gordon, and there might have been another one mixed in there too. It was and so I think we're still wondering, is that the real Tyrod Taylor? Is that the guy that Buffalo said, yeah, go ahead, he's up for trades? I don't know. I think that you stay tuned to what he does this Sunday.
Yeah, I understand people were at the stadium calling for Baker Mayfield. I certainly got that feeling on Twitter yesterday as the game went on. I want to give Taylor the benefit of playing in a dome, weather controlled against, let's be honest, the Saints defense, as Ryan Fitzpatrick proved yesterday, isn't very good. I mean, let's see what he can do against the Saints. And then maybe after that, I'll be more inclined to say yes or no going forward. But he's got to play better. I mean, you and Deke talked about it. I mean, he's got to play better.
Yeah, he really does. And if that had been Baker Mayfield yesterday, and he had been running around the way Taylor was, he was really running around at times in the pocket, and he walked himself into a few sacks, where he came back and he got away from him, and then he turns right into Cameron Hayward or T.J. Watt, who we are going to single-handedly put into the Hall of Fame at a very young age. I mean, he has incredible games, and especially here in Cleveland. But he's going to have to play better. There's no doubt about it. Let me get back to my point, though. If that had been Baker Mayfield that did that, you would say, well, see, that's what a rookie quarterback does.
Right.
They hit the eject button and they scoot around and they cut the field down.
That's why you play the veteran in week 1.
There you go. Right. But it wasn't. Yeah. And I didn't see that Baker Mayfield at all in the preseason. I mean, he hung right in there, and he makes plays in the pocket. There were times that Tyrod bolted out of that pocket where the pocket was okay. It was, as they say in football, it was clean. He was okay had he stayed in there. He just did not look comfortable there all day long. And, and I think more, it's a copycat league. More teams will see that. Yeah. And until he stays in there, I think people are going to throw a lot of traffic his way.
A couple of after further review things. After further review, would it have been better to play Desmond Harrison with the ones before this past week, before naming him the starter this week? Or would it have been better to go with the first-team offensive line that you had for the entire preseason and work Harrison in slower than doing what they did with him yesterday?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. He was fighting 2 injuries through camp. He had 2 different sets of problems there that he missed significant time early, and then even when the games started, he was still nicked up a little bit, so maybe he would have gotten more time with the ones. But they said it was very obvious that he was the best left tackle that they had, and so they went with that. The disturbing thing to me is, and the perplexing thing to me is, that the 33rd overall pick in the draft, the number 1 pick in the second round, Austin Corbett, was not even active for the game yesterday. And that, I did not notice his play to be that poor at left guard. Now, they said it was because this guy that they picked up after the 53 when they were kind of reshaping the bottom part of the roster, Earl Watford, they brought him in. He can play guard, he can play tackle, and apparently he's got some center experience. And remember, they had cut Austin Ryder. So I think that was the reason why that happened. But, boy, I mean, that's a high draft choice to be
inactive.
Yeah, to be inactive.
Yeah, I remember being in Berea the night they drafted him, and the first question, and I want to say Alonzo Highsmith was taking the questions, and it might have been Highsmith and Wolf, I think, may have been up there together. And the first question was, is Austin Corbett able to play left tackle? And I remember from that point on, I always kind of marked it. It's like, well, he can play a lot of positions. Yeah. And it's like, well, but you need a left tackle. You don't necessarily need a guard. You have Bitonio and you have Zeitler. Tretter's fine right now at center. You needed a left tackle to replace the Hall of Famer. And I just, that kind of bothers me a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think in the future he's going to be their next center.
I do too.
Okay, but he's not there yet, obviously.
Yeah.
He hasn't worked out there. This reeks a little bit of what they did a couple of years ago when Cam Irving came here.
Yeah.
And, they moved him around. Now, remember, Irving was he was a first-round pick.
Yeah.
Right? He was the second pick they had in the first round that year. And, he had moved around at Florida State. He had played left tackle, and he had played center. And then he came to the Browns, and in training camp, they played him at right tackle, played him at guard, they played him at center, they played him at left tackle, and he was a master of a lot of things, but he was a jack of all positions, but he was a master of absolutely none of them, okay? And I think sometimes when you do that to a rookie coming in, I think it's a problem. And I think that's why, you go back to when Bitonio joined the Browns. I mean, he was a left tackle in Nevada, but they put him right in at left guard, and they kept him there. And, and I think you have to do that. I really do. Mitchell Schwartz was a right tackle, and they put him there.
From day one.
They put him there, and it works out better. And I hope they haven't confused this kid where he's so far behind now that they can't even afford to put him up on game day.
Right. Also, the Josh Gordon, Hue Jackson had made it clear. I'm not starting him. I'm not starting him. I'm not starting him. I'm not starting him. Even though a year ago, when he came back against the Chargers, he did start. But Hue Jackson had made that clear. Then all of a sudden, there's this, Todd Haley wants to call the certain play to start the game, and Gordon's in on that package. Where's the disconnect there? Between head coach, offensive coordinator, I found that to be a little weird.
Yeah, I did too. In retrospect now, there are so many more problems than whether or not Josh Gordon started or didn't start.
Agreed.
So there really are, and I think
Kiera Cotton's quote to me was, "Everybody needs to build a bridge and get over it." Which I loved.
I read a lot of Kiera's books and have found great comfort in those. But even that great statement is not making the 21-21 tie feel any better. I don't know, Dino. I don't know if there is a disconnect. I know a lot of people are going back to the Hard Knocks episode where he disagreed with Hue about the practice policies in training camp, and Hue kind of, said, "Hey, listen, I'm the head coach here." The other thing, Dino, I have to tell you. This is just me personally. I really feel – I think Hue is having a tough time not calling his own plays.
I do too.
Okay? I think one of the hardest things to do is to watch somebody else do your job. It's a hard thing. Whether you're no matter what you're doing, not just as an offensive coordinator. This guy loved calling plays, and he's not calling plays anymore. And then all of a sudden, he sees this happen. He's going, wait a minute, what the heck's going on? I hope it's much ado about nothing.
Me too.
I really let me ask you this. If they had hit Gordon on a 62-yard pass play on the opening play of the game, would it have been a problem?
Well, no.
What was the play? It was a running play.
It was a running, yeah. Taylor ran for 6 yards.
Well, maybe, it's funny. There were a lot of his runs were pass plays.
Yes.
For instance, on that on the touchdown drive at the start of the third quarter, remember they ran the whole way?
Yeah.
But there were 2 pass plays called that he ran out of. So you don't know how many pass plays they called that he just decided to run out of those.
Yeah. Last, after the review, and we'll get some questions in from everybody. I didn't like the decision. You just get the ball back on the Schobert interception. It's a tie game before the end of regulation. all you need to do is go get yourself about 10 yards in the middle of the field, maybe a little bit more, and give yourself a field goal to win the game in regulation.
Right.
Why do the fade or the go route to Gordon? Now, obviously, Taylor, it wasn't a good pass, but I just didn't. It was so contrary to what I think Taylor is. He's a very conservative quarterback, and it's contrary to where I think the Browns are. It's like, hey, at this point, 3 points is just as good as 7 points. Let's just kick the field goal here and get out of here. I didn't understand that play.
I think, and they had gone at that guy, Sutton. I think they liked that matchup. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. You can like the matchup, but the quarterback was not getting the ball out there.
Yes.
Okay? The problem was the length of his throws.
Yeah.
Because even the touchdown catch is an underthrow.
Yeah.
Okay?
That Gordon's got to make a superb
Absolutely.
play.
Made a tremendous play. The thing that blows your mind about him, how the heck did he get his feet down on that? But he did. I mean, and it counted. You're right. I think they liked the matchup on that with the Cameron Sutton because he had gone in there. Actually, Joe Hayden had been really kind of taken out of the game.
Yeah.
And Sutton had gone in there and made a great play on the play. But the problem was, I think it was there, Dino, if he gets the ball out there.
Right.
He's got to get the ball out there.
Yeah.
And, he didn't do it all day long, whether it was that pass or whether he was throwing to Njoku down the seam, he missed him. It just wasn't happening. He was floating the ball up there, and even if you were beaten as a defensive player, he gave you the opportunity to get back in the play because the ball's hanging up in the air. It just was a very bizarre performance by Tyrod Taylor throwing the football. His mechanics were bizarre.
Yeah. Everything about it was very, very strange. Okay, you have a bunch of questions in. First, people want to know this, because we haven't had a tie with the Cleveland Browns in almost 20 years. 30 years, I'm sorry.
1989.
Since 1989. People aren't familiar with ties, and somebody even said, when did they put this tie rule in? It's always been there. Sudden death, you play a quarter, and if there's no score, game over. It's a tie, except, of course, for the playoffs. I wonder, it's the first time they've had an opening day tie since, 1971. I wonder if the league might look at changing. If there's another, if we have another close call or another tie, I wonder if the league might look into changing that.
Well, I will say this: I don't think the league has I don't think the league's ego could handle saying, let's do the college rule.
Right.
Okay, but the college rule gives you an outcome.
Yes.
I think you have to have an outcome.
Yes.
Okay. What happened? Because you don't have a column for ties.
Right.
I mean, this is not pool play in the World Cup where you get 3 for a win,
right,
1 for a draw,
right,
okay, and nothing for a loss. I mean, this is not like that. You must have an outcome. The other thing was the shortening of the overtime to 10 minutes.
It really
gives you shoehorns the opportunity of a tie perhaps happening, especially on a bad weather day like it was yesterday. I mean, it's a bit methodical moving that football in that weather down there. So I agree with you. They should do something. I think they should play to win.
I do too.
I think you should play to win.
I do too. Dale on Twitter wants to know, was Taylor's running part of the cause for the offensive line's poor play? The fact that he was jailbreaking out of clean pockets a couple of times and things like that, was that a factor in the O-line?
I think it is a factor. It's very different for them to have a quarterback that is so mobile and so prone to run the football. I think at times that is disconcerting to an offensive line, any offensive line, not just the Browns' offensive line, when you have a quarterback that does that, because you have to find him,
right,
and you have to realize where is he and what is he going to do this time around. I mean, how long do I have to hold this block, or do I have to go down with him and give him another block? So, yes, I think that's a very good point to bring up. The other problem was the Browns. I think Pittsburgh realized the Browns' offensive line was not ready to go.
Yes.
And certainly by announcing that move on Friday, I mean, there was no deception to this. We are starting an undrafted free agent at left tackle, okay? Yes. So, that was part of it. And the other thing, Dino, was the Browns' running backs did not pick up blitzes well yesterday.
No.
Duke Johnson had a tough time. Chubb had a tough time. It got him a spot on the bench. Hyde did it a little bit better. The other thing is, now remember, they do not have a fullback, a true fullback, because they worked out an injury settlement with Danny Vitale. Now, they put Orson Charles back there. Tight ends hate being back there. They're just too big. They're too tall. Boy. I mean, it ruined Aaron Shea's career.
Right.
He's got bad shoulders.
Yeah,
it ruined his shoulders. So I think that those are a collection. But that's a good point. It's a different thing when you have a quarterback that runs around.
What was your opinion, Lynn wants to know, on the refereeing yesterday? I know the league came out, I think, and they said the Garrett penalty for the personal foul shouldn't have been called. But
killer.
It was killer. Yeah. But the one on Gordon was more of a holding or a block in the back, certainly, than a personal foul. What was your opinion? I mean, I always hate people who say, well, if the refereeing was better, the Browns would be winning the game. I can't stand that argument.
I don't know that the officials are comfortable with this helmet rule yet, and I don't think anybody is, okay? So I thought the Garrett penalty was a bad penalty, and now they're saying, it shouldn't have been called. I thought they missed that one in the end zone. I thought Joe Hayden had his hand up on his helmet and really almost close to his face mask, and there should have been a flag there, okay? I thought the punt hit Nick Chubb.
I thought it did too.
Okay?
Yeah.
So the Browns might have gotten one there. I thought the penalty on the Steelers, when I think it might have been T.J. Watt, okay, down there by the goal line, when he got called for hitting Taylor, I thought that was a little borderline, too. I thought he just rubbed past him.
I thought he did, too.
Yeah, I didn't think that was a big deal. I thought that those the two penalties, and then they hit the pass to Antonio Brown, the two penalties that marked them back, I think it was the second one, the one on Marcus Gilbert was a little bit shaky. Not a great day for them. Not a great day, but on both sides.
Yeah.
On both sides of the issue. There was another play, I thought, Jarvis Landry, there was contact on a pass late in the fourth quarter in the middle of the field. It might have been incidental, though. I mean, Jarvis might have run into him. The Artie Burns penalty, I think, was justified.
Yeah.
And I think the Garrett play, the Garrett block in the back was justified.
Yeah, I did too. That ended up being, obviously, a big factor in how things ended. By the by, Sam Darnold was making his debut, had a rough start. First pass, pick 6. Jets now leading the Lions 10-7. So he's obviously gotten himself under control a little bit. So something to keep an eye on as we'll see Darnold here coming up very soon here.
2 weeks or a week
less.
from Thursday.
Yeah, a week from Thursday. So
how about that?
It's gonna fly.
Now there could be a lot of pressure on that game.
Yes.
Okay, that could be. I'm not saying a breaking point game, but I have to tell you, how the Browns play on Sunday, and then going into a game against the Jets, which I think we would all think would be winnable. And the other thing, Darnold, a guy that you decided not to take. And if he is playing, and I would assume the Jets, are long-term with him, and they're going to play him, and if he comes in here and plays well, and you've got the guy you chose sitting over there on the bench, and the guy that's, continues, the guy who is starting continues to play the way he did this Sunday, I think, there's going to be a little bit of tension around that game.
Yep. It's going to make
It really reminds me of the opener a couple of years ago when Wentz in Philadelphia just totally he lit it up against
lit it up, and you're sitting there shaking your head saying, what just happened? Last Ogba injury.
He was in a boot. I saw him this afternoon when he was walking through the locker room. He's going to miss some time. They don't think it's a high ankle sprain, but it is a sprain.
Yeah.
And he was walking around in a big boot. Now, sometimes they just do that to keep the swelling down. It's the day after. But I think Hue Jackson today was pretty resigned to the fact that he will not play this week, and he could miss an amount of time. Now, he did say, I know a high ankle sprain, they talk about 6 to 8 weeks. I don't think we're at that point, but we'll have to wait and see.
Okay. All right, great questions, everyone. Great show. We'll be back here tomorrow. We'll see what other surprises await us. Jimmy will have all the sports coming up here: Indians and Rays. 2 Monday Night Football games, and a lot more on Channel 3 News at 11.
All right.
For David Herbertson, for Jim Donovan, I'm Dave DeNatale. Thanks for watching the Donovan Live postgame show right here on WKYC's Facebook Live.